was getting to say action, cut. All right, let's do that again, John, and this time I want you to, and I could give him direction and tell him what to do. Like, this is a man who's created Buzz and Woody and Lightning McQueen, and I was getting, he's like the chief creative officer of the biggest company, like, in the entertainment field, and I got to tell him what to do. So I think that might be, I might have peaked. Everything since then.
Regarding Nickelodeon, is SpongeBob still your best-selling cartoon character, or has anyone else come to claim the reign?
So SpongeBob actually does not sell a lot of product. Like, how do you play with SpongeBob, right? He actually makes more money in consumables. I think we have like enough Go-Gurt to put in every kid backpack in like the entire United States like 5 times. So he's great in consumables. He gets the most ratings in the programming block. Kids love SpongeBob, and I think college kids also love SpongeBob. But as far as consumer products go, I would say that now that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have been bought by Nickelodeon, that's become a billion-dollar brand. So the Turtles are back, and they've kind of, not from programming, but for consumer products, they certainly have taken SpongeBob's place. But SpongeBob is still, he's kind of still #1 as far as programming. Yep.
So I worked for a Fortune 500 company for several years in the area, and I just wanted to corroborate the communication styles. They really focused on the 4 that you had mentioned.
Oh, awesome.
And I wanted to ask you, I remember from just going through several classes at the company that they talked about, so you're an expressive, and there's certain people who have communication styles that might come into conflict with your trait. And so maybe could you talk about some of those obstacles that you had and how you overcame them with the communication styles that you were in conflict with?
Sure. So one of the jobs that I had when I worked on the Pixar business was to manage, and I know this won't seem like a big deal, but it is such a big deal, to manage creating the CG poses that go on the big billboards when they say like a movie's coming and you see, WALL-E, or you saw the characters from Up or Toy Story, and they were very high resolution, beautiful poses that would be on big billboards and bus shelters. When you guys work in marketing, like when you're marketing something. I had to work with the creative group who built those CG poses. Now, they were not creatives. They were really left-brained computer kind of geeks who knew how to get inside the proprietary software of Pixar and build and model and shape and paint. And the head of that group, her name was Leanne, she was an analytic. She was really about data and dates and when do you need it, and she talked really quietly and she didn't move her face much. And I realized when I would go in and have meetings with her, I would come in and be like, hey Leanne, so we got this thing, I got da-da-da-da, and she would just recoil at me when I would come in there, and I could tell she probably hated my energy. It was just too much. So I learned, and this was around this time that I took one of those classes, and I really learned, and if I want to talk to Leanne, I need to come in, I need to use my arms a lot and kind of slow down the animation on my face and just say, hi Leanne, so we have a 2 o'clock, are you ready? So I'd like to talk to you about, on the 25th, we said there would be this CG pose, it would be ready, and I would just try to calmly talk to her and just not move my eyes too much and not interrupt her, just let her talk. And I mean, honestly, I learned how to flex my communication style to be just like her. And then I would leave and say, thank you, it's great to see you. And then I walk out of there. But that's what it is. And that's like the story with Andy Mooney. I couldn't chat with Andy Mooney. I had to come in and say, will you be in a picture with your assistant? We are doing this project. We want to have everybody with their assistant so we can write a song about being in love with our boss's 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 boss. Like, it was this funny, stupid thing that we were doing, but I had to get him, who was very serious, to approve it. And he did. Thank you. Boom, So, hope that helps.
Thank you.
You had a question. You raised your hand and you took it down.
So how much do you think this varies with industries?
Ask me that again?
How do you think the communication styles varies with industries? So you're in more of the entertainment, so I feel like there'd be more animated people. But for people that are in finance or another industry such as that, how would you approach those situations in a way that wouldn't like make them run you out of the room?
It's interesting that you say finance, because I kind of find the finance team at Disney and at Nickelodeon some of the most subversive people I have ever met. They are the ones who have the biggest party on Halloween in the hallways. They are almost more creative than the creative team sometimes. So it's just interesting that you would say finance. I think that you will find, believe it or not, these communication styles in every group. You will find somebody in finance who wants to tell you all about his kids and his weekend and how he got to see the Knicks play. Or you will find somebody who is a pure creative who doesn't want to give you all the details, who just wants to just tell me what I need to know and I'll just do that. Like they may be more of a stage manager, but I work with artists every day. Like I work with animators, character artists, and designers, and I find that they are throughout every group. I think what you might be referring to is the corporate culture within. There's that culture, and you can feel it. Is everybody on their phone? Is everybody not on their phone? Do people go out for lunch? Do they not go out for lunch? So a lot of that, it's not just the communication style. I think it's the culture of the company you're working for, I think. Or she had a question. Then they can't hear you.
I was just wondering, you mentioned that you worked in casting, and I was just wondering like how that was different from your other jobs. I'm not sure what area of casting you worked in, but how you got into that.
So I started out in extras casting down in Wilmington, North Carolina. I was asked, my friend was working in a job, and she was like, why don't you come work with me? I don't know why it seemed easy to just go and get a job, but and I know it's not like that now. But I used to have to cast all the extras who showed up behind the main characters. So that's how I started. It was really like calling people, and at the time it was hand calling, because it was North Carolina, so it was very, you have to be friendly, and these people are the people of the community. So I had to take my time and talk to each extra and say, show up at this time, wear this outfit, bring a change of clothes. And then I eventually moved to LA, and I worked in feature casting for the lead characters. So I worked on the movie Wild Things. I don't know if any of you have seen that, with Nev Campbell and Denise Richards. Kind of dirty. And I worked on a couple for a woman named Linda Lowy casting. The reason why I'm not in casting anymore is because I didn't like the way people talked about people. I felt like it was kind of mean-spirited, and I hated hearing that there were no good actresses in Hollywood, but they were all beautiful, and there were really good actresses in New York, but they were all ugly. And I didn't want to live my life hearing that kind of stuff. I think it's important to be kind, and I realized that's why the entertainment field was not really for me right there.
Hello. So you were on Grey's Anatomy, right? First season. What did you do, and did you happen to meet Patrick Dempsey?
Good. Yeah, Veronica asked me that earlier. All right, so the reason why I made her say season 1 is because Grey's Anatomy was not on the air when I got cast. And the reason why I got cast is I was helping them find a little girl. They needed to cast. Has anybody seen the first season of Grey's Anatomy? Okay. At the end of the first season, there's this little girl who comes into the hospital, and they have to take out half her brain. Do you remember that episode? And she wakes up during the anesthesia because the anesthesiologist has been drinking. It's right around the time that Patrick Dempsey and the girl have just gotten together, and then T.R. Knight's mad about it. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember that? Okay. All right. So this was back before the show was on the air, and Patrick Dempsey had not really worked in a long time. He had done like Pasadena Playhouse. Like he was a very actor. I don't think anybody even really knew who he was or cared that much about him, except people who'd seen like You Can't Buy Me Love in the 80s. So he was very, he was very kind of introverted. His wife had just had twins or was about to have twins. I was 5 months pregnant, so if you do watch it, you'll see I have long straight hair, and I was pregnant during that. So we talked about having kids, and I knew, because I'd worked in casting prior, not to give him that much attention. So I kind of read my book, and he kind of came over like, who are you? So he engaged me in conversation. And it was a great experience. I spent a week on the set, and I had a really nice role. I had to cry in it, which was really exciting. Ken Jones was my acting teacher back then, so thank you, Ken. And then the show came out, and it was a huge hit. So whereas those actors thought, I'll never work it, who cares? Nobody's going to see this show anyway. And then it came out, and everybody loved it so much. Those stars went flying. It was a great experience. I'm so glad I was on it. Please go see it. It's like one of the last episodes in season 1.
Is it on?
Yep. So you talked about people, you changed your communication style internally. So if you met with people outside your company that you didn't know, how did you tailor your communication to them if you didn't know their communication style?
Part of the Nickelodeon culture I've noticed is a meeting will start, even with it, whether it's internal or external, it starts and people chat for the first 10 minutes. I don't know why, but they do, and they often show up late, which is not something I ever did at Disney. They definitely show up late, and I have found that you can kind of, if you listen more than you talk, you actually can hear within the first 90 seconds what kind of communicator you're dealing with. And sometimes, sometimes you might think, oh, they're just an analytic. They're just going to want details. So, they're just going to want the analysis. But then you'll start to realize, oh, actually, they're kind of an analytic who also is a driver. So nobody's ever one thing. They're going to be maybe 2 things, but they kind of are stronger one thing. So I think it's just about being sensitive and listening. If I could do it all over again, I would probably listen more. I still think that's something I don't do really well, is I want to jump in and, I think I know what you're talking about. No, I don't. Shut up. I need to listen. So that's my advice, is just listen more than you talk.
When you started here at NKU, did you know exactly what you wanted to do when you came your freshman year?
I think that I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And then each year, I thought it would be something else. I think I came in and thought, I'm going to be a dancer and a performance, dance, musical theater. And then I realized, oh, actually, I'm a really good serious actor. And then I thought, I'm really good in my physical body, so I'm going to do stage fighting. I did stunt work for a while when I first graduated college because I got really good at stunt work here. I learned how to sword fight and fall down and, and throw myself into a bookshelf. At NKU. And, I think that you guys have so much time in front of you. My advice to you is do everything. Do everything now and then focus in as you get out there. Like, find the thing that you're great at and do those things. It is so much easier for me to hire any of you if I know where I can put you. Just let me put you somewhere, and then you can branch out and do all those other things. But let me make sure you can do that thing. Oh, he does that thing. She does that thing. And then I can fill that, because that's all I want to do is get that off my plate and make you take care of it. If you can take care of that for me, then you get into the company, you learn the culture, and then you can go do the other things that you want to do. So no, I did not know what I wanted. I don't think I ended up doing what I thought I was going to be doing.
Since you started, you said your bachelor's in the theater arts.
Yes.
What was the most useful skill going from a more performing arts school into the more corporate culture that you're in now?
Being able to speak and be heard and not do an and like all the stuff that you do. It is hard to get up in front of people and speak. It is one of the hardest things that you probably have to do. I think there's some thing about, people, their biggest fears or before dying is speaking in public. I think what I learned that I was really decent at, or at least not afraid to do, was speak in front of people. And my tricks are to try to get you guys on my side, which is the first thing I try to always do, and 2, to speak as if I'm talking to just one person instead of a whole group of people, that I'm just having a conversation. That's what I try to do, and that works for me. So that's what I learned. That's the biggest thing that I have continued to do, and people think I know what I'm talking about in corporate America because I speak confidently and clearly. Yes, ma'am.
Because your talk was on politics, and that's very
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, I made plenty of mistakes, and I don't want to blame this on my pregnancy, but when I was first pregnant with my daughter, I was super hormonal, and I remember going in to my boss's office, and he was meeting with someone, and I kind of asked a question, and he did kind of a not now, and I took that as such an I just was so upset that he embarrassed me in front of somebody, kind of give me a get out, you're not in here now. And I kept the door open and kind of said some things I probably shouldn't have said. I have a problem sometimes with my temper, and I say things that I shouldn't say. And I think learning to apologize is probably a big one. And not being afraid to apologize in front of not just the person you have insulted, but perhaps whoever else was in the room, doing it through email, doing it in person. Like, I have apologized a lot. And I think that if you, I'm trying to think if you can make a mistake and, get out. I have been fired before. I was fired off a movie set because I was very rude to a director. He used the F word and I used it back. And I got fired off a movie set. And I try not to use the F word now with bosses. But I did it when I was in my 20s. And this is my thing, is make your mistakes now. Fail early, fail often, but fail early so that you will have recovery time. Because something I learned at Pixar was error recovery is very important. Understand why you failed and move forward. Please do not be afraid to fail now. You guys are in your 20s, you're allowed to fail now. It's when you're in your 40s that people start looking at you going, wow, you're never gonna learn, are you? So. Yes, sir.
I know it's kind of a big thing.
Put the mic up so they can all hear you.
I know it's a bigger thing where in the professional world they always say ask forgiveness rather than ask permission. Do you find that to be true, or is it kind of a little bit of give and take?
I think it's a little from column A, a little from column B. I think sometimes it's okay to just move forward and do it with kindness. Don't be a jerk about it. Like, I really think it's important to not be a jerk. And I think that millennials are so good at being open and transparent and living their life out loud, which I think is so wonderful about this generation of people. I think that there are times when it's important to just do it and not wait for all the red tape. And I think sometimes you do need to ask permission, especially if you know the people involved and you know how they'll respond. I mean, it's like your friends. You know which ones are going to be okay if you don't show up, and the ones who will forgive you later, and the ones who will not forgive you if you stand them up. I mean, I think you have to read the room and treat people like people, because that's all we are. I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
So your last story about how you got hired on at Nickelodeon shows the importance of networking in a corporate environment.